Hi lovelies, welcome back to another Watch Me Work video. So today we're going to be doing a real-time acrylic application, and I already went ahead and prepped my client's nails, primed and laid out my thin layer of clear acrylic. So today we're focusing on how to lay colored acrylics. So I'm starting off with one bead, not too close to the cuticle area, and I'm going to float it all the way down with my brush. I did wipe my brush off, dip it into my liquid, and I'm going to pull that bead as far to the free edge as I possibly can. Now it's not going to reach the full length of the nail because these are somewhat longer than what I would usually do. So what I am going to do is I am going to make sure that my shape is maintained while pulling that acrylic towards the free edge, and I'm just playing with it as much as I can before it actually starts to set and would not move anymore. So now when I'm happy with that, I'm going to take a small bead of that same blue and I'm going to place it to my cuticle area. Now as that bead is still wet and I do have liquid in my brush, not too much though, I am going to press that bead from side to side and I'm going to pull it to blend it back into the acrylic that was there. Now you need this bead to be wetter than the first bead that you played with so that there are no lines or any dents, and that acrylic just blends seamlessly back into each other. And I'm going to repeat the same thing with the bead at the tip of the nail, making sure that it's nice and wet as I'm moving it. Now I have to be honest with you guys, before placing the cuticle bead to the cuticle area, I did press some of the liquid out of my brush. And what I like to do is after I lay my acrylic, I like to go over the entire nail with a nice wet bead. And this is just to make sure that everything is blended nicely back into each other. Now I am working in nice thin layers because I do encapsulate my colored acrylics just as if I were doing glitter. These powders are really not made for strength, so you do have to go in with a strength powder. So I like my Tones Glass acrylic powder, and recently I've been liking my Mia's Secret clear acrylic powder. It is really nice and clear and perfect for encapsulating these colored acrylics. And for my application today, I am using my Alpha number 10 Oval Kolinsky, and I would link it in my description box below as always, and I will include my 10% off coupon code as well. Another way you can start laying the colored acrylic is you can actually start from the center of the nail. So I'm going to place a bead right where the natural nail meets the extension, and I'm going to work it as far down to the free edge of the extension as possible. Now when you're working these acrylics or any acrylic down the nail, you need to make sure and pull that acrylic with the body of the brush, not the tip of the brush. So now I'm placing my second bead a little away from where that last one ended, and I am going to be pressing and pulling and making sure to maintain my shape with this acrylic as I pull that acrylic towards the free edge. Now I'm not stroking it, I'm making sure that every time my brush comes in contact with that blue, I'm going to be wiping it on a piece of paper towel. Now taking a medium-sized bead and placing it to the cuticle area, and I'm going to pat that bead from side to side, make sure that my cuticle area and side walls are nicely sealed in. And I did get some product on the skin, so as that acrylic is wet, you definitely want to go in right away and remove that from there. Now I did need a little bit of a bigger bead, so I'm just going to take a small bead of that blue and place it right back to the cuticle area. Now patting your bead from side to side, just make sure that your nails are nicely even from one side to the center to the next. So you want to try and apply the same amount of pressure so that you don't have one side with more acrylic than the other. And again, I'm going over the entire nail with a nice wet bead of my blue acrylic powder to make sure everything is blended nicely. This is the method that I like to use when laying my acrylics. I start at the cuticle area, make sure that my cuticle area is nicely laid, my sidewalls are nice and flat, and then I pull that bead up to the middle of the nail as far up as possible before it starts to set up, making sure to remove any product that would have gotten on the sidewalls, or even if you get product around the skin of the cuticle area, remove it as soon as you see it, because if it stays there, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to remove once that product starts to set. And if it stays there, then it could also contribute to causing your nails to lift. So after I do that, I went in with another medium-sized bead of the same acrylic powder. Made sure that it was a little bit wetter than the bead that I used previously. And I'm using the body of my brush to pull that all the way to the free edge. Using my brush to maintain the shape of the nail as well. This is also going to help with less filing. And the most important step, no matter which method I choose to use, is laying down that nice thin wet bead of the acrylic powder to cover the entire nail. This part has helped me so much when laying down my clear acrylic, just to make sure that there are no harsh lines, any unevenness in the pigments of any colored acrylic that I'm using, and just make sure that that nail looks seamlessly blended with the colored acrylic. So I know this is not another method as to how to lay colored acrylic, but my client did want an accent glitter nail. I'm going to be using this blue as a background for that glitter. So I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and thin and it sort of looks like a jelly nail. And as that blue is still wet, I'm going to use that to press my glitter into it. I didn't pre-mix this glitter with any clear acrylic. I'm just going to be pressing it into the wet acrylic. And after I do that, I do go in with nice thin but wet beads of my clear acrylic powder to hold that glitter in place. So on the thumb, I did go in with the method where I start right where the extension meets the natural nail. And you guys already seen me do that. I did go ahead and encapsulate off camera, file shaped and buffed as well. And I applied my gel top coat so you guys can see the final result. Each method gives you the same result once you apply that acrylic properly. It's just which method you prefer to work with. If I don't do my cuticle area first, this method that I'm showing on screen right now is another way that I would prefer to lay my acrylic, which is called the 3-ball method. But for me, it turns into 5 beads because I don't like using 1 bead of acrylic to my cuticle area. I prefer to do the cuticle area in 3 beads. For me, I just personally think that I have more control over it rather than having that product go everywhere or that bead drying too fast. It's just a personal preference. When it comes to laying your acrylic, it's really what you are comfortable with doing. And if you guys just look in the background, you will see how nice and thin the other nails are. So if I were to leave it like this, her nails will not last. The slightest hit or bounce, it will definitely break. So that is why you have to make sure that you strengthen it with the clay acrylic powder. So that is it for this video, guys. I really hope that it was helpful and informative. And if it was, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up and tell me which method you actually prefer using when it comes to laying your colored acrylic. And go ahead and add a blue heart emoji with that comment as well. And if you're not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and click on that subscribe button. And while you're down there, click the notification bell so that you don't miss a beat when I upload next. So that is it, guys. I am out. As always, I would love for you guys to keep safe, and I'll see you soon.